How do you marry up the problem that your potential investors have in a way where you create urgency? All of my clients, initially when they come to us, you know the number one problem they think they have? They think they just need more leads. But the truth is, they don't know how to market, they don't know how to brand. A lot of them don't know how to conduct a sales meeting with an investor, even if they think they do. All of you have that raw nerve you can strike with your potential investor based on where they're at, not where you want them to be. All of us in this room want to raise money from people where we want to raise 6-figure checks instead of 5. Or if you're already doing 6, you want to learn how to do 7. If you're doing 7, hey, how do I get a $10 million commitment? If I'm getting 10 million, how do I get a $100 million term sheet? And I can tell you there's 4 truths to this entire process, and I want to walk you guys through it when it comes to attracting serious dough. Number 1 is the people that are working with you absolutely have to perceive you as high status. They have to. Because if they perceive you below their level, that's not an investment, that's charity. And that's how they're going to see it. Now, it sounds like a pretty crude thing to say, but it's true. Think about from your perspective, if anyone's ever asked you as simple as a loan or as simple as a favor or as simple as something, if you perceive them as somebody as high status, you're happy to do it, you're happy to participate because you feel like there's a benefit to you potentially somewhere down the line. You can't maybe put your finger on it, but there's that perception there that this is a good idea to pursue. If you perceive them below you economically or whatever it is, you're going to see it as charity. You're going to see them as doing them a favor. So my whole point is, when you're positioning yourself, the status frame that you take has to be there. And I don't mean it from an arrogance perspective or, just being perceived. I mean, they need to see you as somebody that's worth listening to. Now, how do you do that? Is the second piece, and that's through thought leadership. So, when you speak, do people want to listen? Do they perceive what you're talking about as being worthwhile? That's a tough thing to measure on your own personal regard because you're like, of course they want to listen to me, I'm awesome, right? Or I've got a great deal, or whatever the thing is. Well, do they really? Or are they just humoring you because, your brother-in-law is, best friends with so-and-so, right? So, how do you establish the thought leadership piece? So I'm going to tie this all in as well. The third one is being seen as someone with competence and experience. So how do you demonstrate that to your potential investor? And then finally, all of that is wrapped up in a sense of trustworthiness. Like, do they perceive you as somebody with what I call a high say-do ratio? And again, that ties back to your values, it ties back to your competence, it ties back all to these different things. So, if you master these 4, with a strong personal brand, what ends up happening is it's really easy to then do this, lead generation on autopilot. The copy of the book that you guys have on your desk, Unlimited Investor Leads, that's yours to keep. That's a bestseller in 3 different categories on Amazon. Sales and selling, marketing, leadership, actually 4, it was e-commerce as well. And how did it become that way? Well, because the brand positioning of me, along with the client base, with what I was offering, was all consistent. And it literally flew off the shelf because everything clicked on every level for everybody. Now, how I got there, I'm going to walk you guys through that as much as I can, but ultimately, the lead generation of that is on autopilot. Every single day, we have between 40 and 60 people buy the book, download the book, inquire about the book, more importantly, give us their contact information. Name, email, phone number. About 2/3 of them also go through our app grading process. App grading is they answer 9 questions. So they take the time to answer 9 questions about where they're at, what they're working on, what their goals are, whether they're accredited. You guys start to see how this is maybe valuable to you for being able to build a list of potential investors? Of course. And the best part is that the thing that they come to you for initially is the thing that they think they need, when in actuality, there's an entire world of things they're trying to work through, but in their mind, it's just the thing. So from a marketing perspective, the best advice is give people what they want, or sell people what they want, but then give them what they need. So in other words, all of my clients, initially when they come to us, the number one problem they think they have? They think they just need more leads. They literally, Vince, Ved, you guys can say, they all literally think that their number one problem is more leads. That's what they all think. And guess why the book is called Unlimited Investor Leads? Because they all think that that's their biggest problem. That's one of the problems. But the truth is, they don't know how to market, they don't know how to brand. A lot of them don't know how to conduct a sales meeting with an investor, even if they think they do. A lot of them are having 2-3 hour meetings instead of 45 minutes because they don't know how to keep it tight. They don't know how to ask for the commitment. They don't know how to nurture the lead. They don't know how to, you guys see where I'm going with this? So all of you from your perspective, whether you're a contractor, a police officer, transitioning into a real estate investor, whatever it is, all of you have that raw nerve you can strike with your potential investor based on where they're at, not where you want them to be. Because if I went to the market and I started saying, hey guys, I'm going to teach you how to market, I'm going to teach you how to sell, I'm going to teach you how to underwrite deals. Be like, dude, I don't care. I have a deal. I just need investors. I need leads. I need people to talk to. What am I going to do? I could argue with you, and then I'm basically doing free consulting, right? Because then I'm doing free consulting, and you're going to fight with me anyway because you disagree on what the problem is. Or I could say, cool. Let's load you up with leads. And then when you fuck that up, we'll talk again. You know, like it's, that's what it is, right? Like here you go, here's how to find 100 people to talk to. And then inevitably what happens? They come back and they're like, yeah, yeah. So how do we do this other thing? Oh, you mean like actually talk to the people and see the whole thing through? You guys see where I'm going with this? So my point is, your investors, a lot of them are not problem aware. And your challenge and your disconnect is that you're talking to them at a level that they're not there. They're not there mentally. They don't think there's anything wrong. So why would they change things? I'll give you an example. When I got into this business and we were just raising capital, and I didn't even know the frames and definitions of what I'm about to tell you, but now I can actually put it in a box and tell you what it is. But when I got into this business in 07, 08, the stock market crashed. You guys remember? Even people's RSPs and mutual funds, they were down 30, 40, 50%. Some of you guys might remember that, where, wherever you had your money, Investors Group or whatever it was down 30, 40%. At that time, it was the easiest thing in the world for us to raise capital for private equity. Why? Because people looked at their statements and they were like, this sucks. Oh, yeah, probably. So it was the easiest thing to pinpoint a nerve with people back in 07, 08, because they looked at their RSP statements and they're like, I'm down 40%. Now, that is the absolute worst time to sell your RSPs. Guess what people did? They but they sold their RSPs and invested in private equity and all kinds of other things because they felt the pain. So people were problem aware. Today, your clients are not problem aware yet, right? So there's a different approach that you guys have to take, and I'm going to walk you guys through this. So the key thing here, guys, is how do you marry up the problem that your potential investors have in a way where you create urgency? That's what it is. And that's where the lead generation comes in. Now, bonus points, if you can take a position where you identify a problem in a way where an investor goes, you're the right person to solve it, right? If they become aware of a problem and it naturally is obvious to everybody that you're the person to solve that problem, how much selling are you doing at that point? Not much. Being problem aware is really important. So, first step in going through the process, and I want to walk you guys through this, is to create unlimited investor leads and to create that pipeline for yourself. You have to go through the unfair advantage assessment. The unfair advantage assessment is 7 questions that you'll answer, and what it'll do is it'll help you create something called a brand identity kit. Now, you can't see it here, but that's an example. It's a Google Doc with a couple thousand words on it, and it essentially gives you your story, which is really important for you guys. Because a lot of us hate writing, first of all. Second of all, we're not really good at talking about ourselves. Brian, Canadians, that's just not, it's not in our DNA. I don't know what it is. But it's important. So the way we did it is we created an algorithm. We created something called AI Marson, where we uploaded literally 400 or 500 hours of me lecturing, because that's how many hours of this stuff I've done at this point now. And we've cross-referenced that with a few different AI language models. And effectively, by you answering your questions, I'll package your story for you, the AI version of me. Then our copywriting team will verify it, make sure it doesn't say anything ridiculous, and give it back to you. And that's your baseline. That's your starting point. Now, once you have your brand identity kit, the next step is creating a media kit. So whether you do this on your own or we do it with you, creating a media kit is the best tool you could possibly have to get yourself in front of other audiences. So I've been on a ton of different platforms, a ton of different podcasts, stages, all over the world. The one thing that I can tell you right now, you need to have, whether you want to speak in front of 10 people or 100 people, is just a basic media kit. Now, what's a media kit? It's a one-pager. Get a decent picture. That was the best one they could find of me, but you get a decent picture of yourself, and then some potential topics you can talk about. Those topics, we talked about it yesterday, those are called hooks. So I'll allude to that as well, and between your personal brand identity kit, being able to package yourself and put your hook together, you'll create a compelling reason for people to actually want to talk to you. Now, why is this important? Because today, what's the first thing everybody does? They meet you, they go on Google, they search you. It's the first thing they do. You search me, you'll find a ton of podcasts, a ton of stage appearances, a ton of different things. I did all of this consciously in the last 3 or 4 years. 4 years ago, I think I had 3 LinkedIn accounts by accident. I didn't pay attention to stuff 4 years ago. I had no clue. I didn't know what a ClickFunnels was 12 months ago. So, my point is, I'm like you guys. I just consciously took the time to figure it out. And you can do this, and you should do this, because this is the way the world's going. Like the fact that we have between 50 and 60 people every day adding to our database just on autopilot right now, not even counting referrals and everything else, is just a testament to what we're doing. And the book and everything else, it's just as a result of all of this. So here's how to do it. You get your media kit. The next thing what you do is you pick a lead magnet. Now again, if you want to know where this is all in school, which is why I'm not taking this, because I'd rather answer questions and get into this with you guys. But picking an actual lead magnet is what's going to allow you to create engagement with people. The title is a hook. You guys need a hook. How did I get this hook? Lots of reiteration. How did I get this book? Lots of reiteration. The biggest mistake most of you make when you try marketing, you think you have to have everything done, and then you just hit send, and then it's all supposed to work. This book was an ebook. Before it was an ebook, it was a one-page downloadable template. Before it was that, it was a concept in the workshop of my mind. And before I actually put it as a template, I would talk to people about it. And the way that they responded best was what I called it first. Then it reiterated, then it reiterated. Then when I finally came up with the name Unlimited Investor Leads, before I actually wrote the book, I wrote the outcome I wanted you to take from the book. So in other words, I had the beginning and the end before I even filled the middle. What happens when you do that? You create intention and you create purpose. And then you get very clear on the purpose of whatever it is that you're packaging. Whether it's a webinar to get investors, whether it's to grow your marketing business, whether you're looking for new clients on the leasing side, whatever it is, you start with the name for it and the action you want them to take with whatever lead funnel you're trying to create. And these hooks are the hardest thing to think about, but when you then pair that up with your brand identity, with your personal thought process, it gets really simple to do it. Once you guys start getting clear on that, it gets a lot easier to create space in the market for you to actually get a platform to speak. Because nobody cares about your 12-plex. Nobody cares about the 200 units you're building and none of it. Nobody cares about the 12 you want to buy and the $1 million you're raising. Nobody cares. But if you tell me how you retired your mom using real estate, I'm very interested. That's actually Patricia, Patty G. How I retired my mom, using real estate investing. That's her hook. Cool, I'm interested. We just got to tell better stories, is really what it is, right? So again, going back to this book, Unlimited Investor Leads. So on top of that, this lead magnet is part of my lead funnel. I'll talk about that next because I want to kind of walk you guys through it. By the way, in school, you have dozens and there's 50 plus hooks there for you guys to use and alter and use in your manner. I just gave you guys some better examples. The next piece is, so we talked about this a little bit yesterday, you have the actual hook and then you have the fulfillment of the hook. So the actual lead magnet itself. Too many of you guys are getting caught up in things like, Pooja, we were talking about this yesterday. People get caught up in is it going to be a webinar? Is it going to be a seminar? Is it going to be a conference? Am I doing a whole thing? Who cares? It doesn't matter initially. All that matters is that you have a strong hook and then you have you have something that there's a promise there that makes me interested to want to learn more. Now, when you do figure out how you want to actually fulfill on that hook, your medium then matters. So it could be a book, it could be a webinar, it could be a quiz, it could be a white paper, it could be a consult. You guys starting to get this? So the lead magnet and the actual fulfillment, the lead funnel, are two pieces to it. It's a really important piece. So the next piece is, so let's review. You've got your unfair advantage in place. You've gone through that. You've got your brand identity kit back. You're then looking at your lead magnet. You're picking your lead magnet, and then you have your actual lead funnel to work with. So what happens next? Actually creating that funnel. Again, in school, you guys can use it. So here's some examples of really basic funnels. If you're sitting there and you're like, I don't use the technology stuff, I don't know how this stuff works, here are two really simple funnels you could literally set up today, like before you leave. This isn't rocket science. Number one is the webinar funnel. So about a year ago, or almost 2 years ago now, I guess, I did a webinar called "The Recession is at Your Doorstep." So literally, I just did a webinar. It was a one-hour webinar, and I called it "The Recession is at Your Doorstep." It was a one-hour webinar. I talked about where the world was going, what was happening, where I saw things, interest rates, they just started going up, all the things that were happening that have happened since were just happening. So literally, I booked a one-hour webinar. I invited everybody in our Rolodex, and then I shot it, recorded it, then we had it trimmed down. After we had it trimmed down with the ums and ahs, that became a digital asset. And because I shot it with the intention of making it a digital asset, I didn't say things that would make it old. So I didn't talk about, we're just getting ready for Easter, or blah, blah, blah. I didn't say things like this, right? I didn't shoot it with a Christmas tree in the background. I didn't, you think about how to make it evergreen, because the intention is to use it for something else after. So I shot the video. We attached a basic landing page. To get to the landing page, you gave us your contact. Through the contact information, you got the webinar. Through the webinar, you then ended up on the email sequence. The email sequence, guess what, was tied back to the thing you watched. And even better still, there's really simple software out there that will send updates and notifications to people that they've opted in for based on where they're at in the video. So if they watch the video, they'll get this type of communication. If they don't watch the video, maybe they'll get these types of communications, so on and so on and so forth. And this is a really simple funnel that all of you guys can set up literally within a day or two. It's a really good start. Another example is a book funnel. So again, the book, Unlimited Investor Leads. It's a funnel. Now, if you go inside the book, here's two different examples we drive traffic for. One is ads. You guys probably all seen the ad at least once or twice or 100 times. So we're very proud of that ad. It works really well. And that ad, when you click on that ad, literally, you call out your audience. Are you a real estate investor looking to raise capital? I want to show you how to find unlimited investor leads. You've called me out. I'm a real estate investor. I want investors. I think my problem is on leads, right? Because you think, what am I going to say? Are you a real estate investor and you can't sell? Let me show you how to close more investors. Like, what am I, like maybe that'll work, I don't know. But I don't want to try it, because that's not what people, first of all, that just creates such a negative loop, right? Because people don't think that, I'm a good salesperson, I can promote my deal. Like, I don't want to, that's not the problem they think they have, right? So another practical example of that is when you have Denise, her and Stuart, their offer is they do fixed income products with RSP mortgages, and a lot of their clients are looking for retirement. So I'm not saying they would do an ad, but if they did do an ad, it was like, hey, are you approaching retirement, looking to create some additional income? My name is Denise McPherson, yada, 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 yada. That's interesting, because you've called out, that's a good script, by the way, so you should use that. Because you called out your audience, and immediately what pain are you solving for them? Like, because you're not clear on what outcome you want, it's difficult to tie everything back. And you end up like going to Pluto with the conversation. And then you're just struggling to bring everything back because you haven't pinpointed the start and the end. That's a big piece. Now, the next step of the book funnel, I didn't know how to put this into screenshots, but the software we use is really basic, where I can actually, the book, because you can buy this on Kindle for $10 for the digital, or for the physical, I think it's $25 or something. So if you get the free version of it, I'll give you the free version, but what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to give it to you course, chapter by chapter by chapter, so you have to go through it the way I want you to go through it because it's free. Does that make sense? So it's like the freemium version. So I'm giving you a free copy of it, but for people that pay $10, $25, you get the full deal, you go wherever you want with it, but if I'm giving you the free version, I'm curating that experience for you. So what does that do for me? One, every time you open a chapter, I know. Like, how cool would that be? So forget about the fact that this is a book. Imagine you did it as a webinar. Imagine you did a webinar, a podcast, whatever it is, and you cut it up into 5 or 10 pieces. And each piece was with intention on a different piece of your value proposition. You could actually tell what your potential investor watched or what they looked at. And you can have triggering events at every sequence. So when they go through, for example, in my case, let's say they thumb through the book, the digital free version, and they read chapter 1, harnessing your unfair advantage, chapter 2, and then they drop off. We can send them a reminder email, hey, here's this, you might have missed this, here's how to plug into this. And if you thumb through the book, you guys will notice that almost every chapter has a QR code at the end of it. Well, why do I do that? Why don't I just put one QR code at the beginning of the book? Well, because you might miss it. The other thing is the QR code at every chapter is actually the same QR code in the entire book. So why did I do that? So the reason why I did that is because if you look through the book, every chapter has a different free tool because you may respond to one tool but not to another. Do you guys understand? So regardless, you're coming into, because if you buy my book online, Amazon doesn't tell me John Smith bought your book. They don't tell you, right? Unless you buy it directly from us, then that's another funnel altogether. But how do I know? Unless you buy the book and you engage with the free stuff, I know which free stuff you've engaged with, and now you're in. And once you get in a funnel that you want to be part of, especially if you've read the book cover to cover, I mean, you're buying into how I see things. And some people are like, well, do you actually tell this book? I go, yeah, it's a great freaking book. Like, you can literally do everything from, you can do a lot of things from this book. Okay, well then, why do they need you? I go, because how many times have you guys read an instruction manual and you're like, shit, can I just pay somebody to help me with this? All of us, right? So the best performers give their secrets away because they're not afraid that you're gonna, what are you gonna do? Outdo me at the thing that I'm the best at? Like, great, here's the manual. Go do it. Good luck. Like, I wrote the book on it. If you'd like to do it, go ahead, right? But that's like an ultimate frame that you can take as an expert. With a book, with a talk, with a podcast, with whatever it is, I don't gatekeep. Actually, Arlette used that term at one of the meetups that we did, that I don't gatekeep information. I don't. So you have the lead funnel, and then it rolls into, so this is technically 2 lead magnets used together, so this is a little bit more complicated, but I just want to show you that you're not boxed into one. So in other words, they literally download the ebook, or they download the book. What happens after they give us their initial information, they get a copy of the training, they have all the things we just talked about, and then technically there's one more page or a series of pages where they answer a few questions. It's like, hey, we have this great training on how to raise $1 to $3 million in the next 90 days without making a single cold call. Are you interested, right? Yeah, most people that are serious and are active, like, yeah, I'm interested. Okay, great. So we ask you to answer a few questions. It's 9 questions that tie back to helping us understand where you're at in your journey. Once you've answered the questions, you go to another page. It's a 20-minute webinar. These are called VSLs, video sales letters. That's what they're technically called. This video sales letter is me talking about the target system. So that's another conversation we can have another day. That's a unique mechanism. That's not my word, that's a marketing term, where you take what you do and you package it in a way where someone's like, well, what is that? Because if I said, hey, I'm going to teach you how to raise capital, you're going to go, oh, I've heard that 63,000 times. Great, cool, thanks. But if I tell you, hey, I have a proprietary target investor system that's helped me raise well into 9 figures, you're going to go, what the hell is target? Like, you're going to sit through the 20-minute video because you want to know what target is. That's good marketing. And again, it's really important that you have substance behind what you're doing. You can't just be bullshit, because if it's bullshit, then that's the last time those people ever pay attention to you. But target is T-A-R-G-E-T. I don't have time for it. You guys can see it on the website how I break it down. But T as example is TAM, your total addressable market. A is attention and leads. R is recognition and branding. So it all ties back in. It's another way for me tying everything back to what I teach. So your lead magnet and your funnel, you can have multiple layers to it. And what happens as you get better at this is it creates the sequence where people continue to reinforce their belief that you know what you're doing. With investors, your goal is to get to a point where their certainty is here before they even get on a phone call with you. Because when they get on that call with you, it's not a function of if they're going to invest with you, but it's just when and how much. And when you can create that frame with your investor, it's a different conversation. It's no longer, hey, your brochure says 12%, I have this other thing that'll pay me 12.37%. Like they're not commoditizing you at that point, right? It's no longer just about the return. I mean, yeah, you got to offer a fair return and a good split and be reasonable with your costs, but at the end of the day, they're investing in you.